Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Unparalleled Universe for another action figure review, and today we're taking a look at the brand new Mezco 112 Collective Cable, and we're going to jump right into it, starting with the box. And it is the standard Mezco box that they put out with all of their regular released figures. The exclusive figures tend to have smaller boxes or like metal tins and those kind of things. I really wish that we'd see that with the regular releases too, but it looks like they're going to stick with these big old boxes until the end of time, which, you know, whatever. They are very nice quality. They're just kind of hard to store, but this box does look cool. I like the blue and the gray. It says Cable at the top, Mezco 112 Collective right here. It has a really cool X logo. It says Marvel on this side. Over here we have another X logo. On the back we get a look at a bunch of promotional shots that we've seen for the last year or so, and these are really cool shots. And then up here we get a look at the figure and then all the accessories that he comes with, and that's about it. It is collector friendly. It looks good, all that cool stuff. But let's go ahead and open it up and take a look at Mr. Summers. So here we have Cable right out of the box, and I think the figure looks really good. As we know, Mezco likes to do their own kind of designs when it comes to Marvel characters, and in this case I think they did a really good job. This definitely screams Cable. It does have Gears of War influence, it feels like, especially with the big chest area and then the skinnier arms. I think that definitely screams Gears of War, but it still looks really good and it feels like something that Cable would wear, so I am happy with it. One thing I do wish they did differently was, you see these pads right here on the lower arms? These really feel like old school 90s pads. I wish they would have put pads just like this on the shoulders, and then I think that would have gone a long way to make this feel a little bit more 90s, which, you know, Cable's like the epitome of 90s extreme comics. So I mean, anything that kind of that goes with that, I like it, you know. So I wish they would have incorporated something like that to make this feel a little bit more 90s extreme. And I think pads on the shoulders would have gone a long way, because I never understood why Rob Liefeld drew Cable with the big pads on his shoulders and stuff. I loved it as a kid, you know, and I would have liked it if this figure had it, but you know, I realize it doesn't make much sense, especially these kind of weird soft pads, especially when you have hard pads under it. I just think it would have felt like real Cable, extreme 90s Cable, if they would have done something like that. But as is, I love the design. I think this original look for Cable looks awesome and it really works for the character. But let's go ahead and get in close and take a look at all the amazing detail on this figure, because with the sculpt, I feel like Mezco went above and beyond. There's so many little details sprinkled throughout the figure, and it was a lot of fun for me to kind of inspect this guy and just discover all those little things. So I'm really happy with the sculpting work on this guy. But let's go ahead and get into it, starting with the head sculpt. The head sculpt is pretty nice. It definitely looks like Nathan Summers, and I like it a lot. But I know some people are going to complain because it does have that waxy type of look that Mezco is known for. It's gotten a lot better with their more recent figures, but with their older figures, their faces looked really waxy, and Cable kind of has that going on, but you know, not too much. I think for the most part, it's a really nice looking head sculpt and it captures the character perfectly. I love this eye right here with the scars on it. That looks nice. This eye is yellow, and he does have light up features, so the eye does light up, but we'll look at that in just a minute here. And then he has the white hair with a little bit of gray in there, so it looks good, man. It's a really good looking Cable head sculpt. And then moving down into the armor here, I just love all this armor. I love all the battle damage and stuff that we see on this. It looks really good. Check out all the scratches and like scratched paint, and it just kind of looks like he's been wearing this armor for a long time. Check out the discoloration on the shoulders. Oh, and check out these right here. I like these little screws. Those are the kind of details I'm talking about. That's awesome. And just look at that. That looks really good. And then going back over here, I really like this right here. It looks like a vent kind of, and this is actually where the light up switch is hidden, and that just kind of slides up, and then you're able to flip that switch. We'll do that in just a second here, but I just love this right here because it hides the you know, switch compartment very well. It doesn't look ugly or distracting, and it just looks really nice. I like those vents a lot. There's a lot of cool paint detail and stuff too here. You got some like silver with some black wash on those pieces. And then check out in here, look at all these things going on, man. We got some pouches down here, pouches on his belt, really good stuff. This shoulder has the same thing going on. We have some more scratches, and I love that the shoulders don't have like the same scratches on them. That's so nice. Some more you know, discoloration and screws. Look at all that stuff, man. That's so cool. Got some more pouches on this side. He does have his little handgun holster right here on the front of his belt, so that works out good. Let's go ahead and throw his gun in there. Bam. That looks really nice too. And for the torso, it's two different pieces. The lower torso is covered by like a little plate, and then the upper torso is like a whole separate piece. He's got the soft goods clothing under there, and Also, he has the soft pants, which is nice. We've got some more pouches right here. I love all these pouches. We got this little knife sheath here. We'll go ahead and throw his knife in there. Bam. There we go. And the knife sits in there very nicely. You don't have to worry about it falling out or anything. But let's keep on looking here. Some more pouches, good stuff. And then we got these big crazy boots, which I really like because they're big, you know, and it makes it easy for him to stand. You could get him into some really cool walking poses because of these big huge boots. But I just love the sculpted details on him too. Look at him. Looks like he's been just kind of trying to survive, going through like the worst conditions with these boots on. They're all messed up. Look at that. The sculpting work on these are really nice. Now let's go up here to the arm. We've got his cybernetic arm, and I just love like this right here. Check this out. Kind of looks like veins, you know, but it really gives the impression that the techno-organic virus is kind of messing with them a little bit here, but I just love that a lot. This arm looks so cool. And the paint details are nice on it too. Got some like black wash in the lines there to make it all stand out. That's really good. And then let me point out something here on this arm, because this is nice too. But yeah, check out these pads and everything. I like that a lot. But this is one thing that I thought was real cool. There's like metal on the fingertips, and that's awesome. That makes a lot of sense to me for Cable. He would wear gloves with like metal fingertips for some reason, but that's really cool. Look at that. A lot of crazy details on this guy. Not too much going on with the arms. I wish his arm was a little bit more muscular and extreme and veiny. I think that would have been awesome, but as is, it's fine. But yeah, man, there's a crazy amount of detail on this figure, and it's just really impressive. Mezco did an incredible job with the sculpting work on this guy. And then for the accessories, Cable comes with a bunch of really cool stuff, including multiple sets of hands. So first off, we have a pair of fists, and then we have a set of open hands, and then we have a set of tight gripping hands that he could use to hold on to his knife. And then we have a set of gun gripping hands that he could use to hold on to his various guns that he comes with. And he has no problem holding on to his handguns, but his bigger guns are a little tougher for him to hold on to. He could hold each one of them with one hand, but I couldn't get him to hold them with two hands. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at all these weapons, starting off with the knife. This thing is really cool, looks very realistic, and it looks like Cable's about to butcher someone with this thing. This is awesome. Looks like he's gonna go gut like some kind of futuristic wild boar or something crazy like that. But yeah, I like this knife a lot. And then we have the little handgun, which is really cool. It has like an awkward kind of shape though. It's like almost angled a little bit, but I think that's kind of cool and different. I like that. Look at that. We got some paint details on there, some different colors, some blue right here, some like bronze or brown on the handle, some silver, and some like gunmetal gray. I think this little handgun is awesome. And then we got one of these. Bam! Big old crazy Cable gun. This thing looks really cool too. I love the details. I love the orange on there. That looks nice. And what's interesting about this is this little I don't know what you'd call it, the little chamber that holds the canister grenade things. It can move around, so I'm not sure what the point of that is. I kind of thought this maybe comes apart, but I didn't want to try to force it. Nothing was coming apart naturally, so I just left it alone. But that's kind of weird that they made that so it spins. But yeah, look at this. This thing is crazy. It really screams Cable. Maybe we could plug some kind of like energy effect right there in the front. I think that'd be dope. We got some really cool scratches and stuff on the side. Some more orange. Yeah, I like this gun a lot. He does have a problem holding his bigger guns with two hands. He's able to hold them with one hand really easy because they're very light, but you can't really get him to hold them with two hands, so it's going to be kind of hard to get him into action poses like that. But I do appreciate the fact that they're very light and that he can hold them with one hand because, you know, Cable's a big old monster. He would be able to hold these guns with one hand. And then next up we have this one here. And this one's really cool too, and I kind of feel like Mezco wanted to make it so this thing could light up, but it just didn't work out that way, which, you know, it's okay. That's crazy anyways if they would have done that. I mean, crazy in a good way, but that's like over the top crazy to have a light up gun, light up figure and all that stuff. Crazy, but I like this gun a lot. I like this green in here, like the black and yellow down here. This looks awesome. It does have like this removable magazine thing, and it kind of looks like a Nintendo cartridge or something. I like that. A Nintendo cartridge, old school. But yeah, I like all these scratches and things on here. Looks really good. Look at back here, we got like a little pad area. But once again, yeah, this gun is very hard for him to hold with two hands, but it's light, so he can hold it with one hand. So I'm happy with it. And he does come with two different heads, this being the first, the one that we've already discussed. It's the one that's on the figure inside of the box, and I think it does look really good, but let's go ahead and pop that off real quick. Bam. and then we'll stick on the alternate head. And here we have a more angry looking Cable. This one looks good too. I'm not crazy about the teeth. I feel like Mezco can't really seem to get teeth quite right. It doesn't look horrible or anything, but I'm just, you know, I'm not in love with it. But I think this is a really good head sculpt as well. I definitely prefer the just serious looking Cable, but I think they're both very well done. And one small thing I want to give Mezco a lot of credit for is how much they've improved on the wrist pegs on their figures, because with some of the early 112 collective releases, the wrist pegs were very small and they were breaking a lot, like especially with the Punisher figures. I feel like I saw a lot of people breaking the wrist pegs, but lately they've been really sturdy and solid, and I haven't really heard horror stories about people breaking them. But yeah, check this out. You could remove the hands very easily. The peg on there is a good size. You really don't have to worry about it breaking. So it's nice to not have to stress about that when you're swapping out the hands. So I think that's something they definitely deserve credit for because they've improved on it. So good stuff. And as I mentioned before, he has a really cool light up feature. So check this out. All you have to do is slide this back piece up, flip the switch, and there we go. Check it out. Look at that. That is so awesome. I'm a sucker for light up features. I'm sorry, especially on 6-inch figures, but man, I just think that looks so cool. But let's try to get some of these lights out of the way so we can see how bright it lights up. It's actually pretty good. Check out the eye, man, that is so cool. And what's really nice too is you could turn the head and the eye still lights up. If you turn it too far, it starts to go dim. Oh, actually it's still kind of lit up. Okay, but having it straight on is where you get the most light. But yeah, man, I just love that. That is so cool. Check out the back here too. We got some more lights going. And, you know, some things in the articulation did have to be sacrificed for the light up feature to work, mainly in the neck area. We'll talk about that in a second here. But yeah, overall, I think this light up feature is really cool, and I would like to see this on more 6-inch figures. It just makes it feel more high quality, and it's just like a step up from, you know, just your standard 6-inch figure. And as always, we have the standard Mezco stand. We have the X logo on here. There's a peg for him to stand on, and you could either put the figure directly on here or pose them on here using the articulated posing arm that the Mezco figures come with. So now for some size comparisons, and I think this is where this figure is going to lose some points for some people because he's definitely smaller than he should be. As you could see him standing next to Cyclops and Wolverine, he's not much bigger than either one of them. He should tower over both of these characters. He's not even, I don't even think he's bigger than Cyclops. He's pretty much the same height as Cyclops, and to me that's kind of weak. He should be much bigger than Cyclops, and you know, he should be a monster, a giant next to Wolverine, but that's really not the case here. So that's a little disappointing. And what we have here, just in case you don't know, is the Mezco 112 Collective Cyclops and the Mezco 112 Collective Logan. Next up, we have Cable alongside the Mezco 112 Collective Deadpool and the Marvel Legends Beast. And, you know, once again, he looks a little small next to Deadpool. I know in the Deadpool and Cable comics, I mean, Cable wasn't as huge. I don't feel like he was more like a normal sized dude. He was still big, but he wasn't like a huge monster like he was in the 90s. In the 90s, he was like a big giant, you know? I mean, still like human, but like big. I feel like in the Cable versus Deadpool comics, that wasn't really the case. He wasn't as huge. So I'm not as... you know, I'm not as, I don't want to say mad or upset, but I'm a little more okay with Cable and Deadpool size right here. I think they look pretty good together. Here we have them alongside the Marvel Legends Tiger Stripe Wolverine from the Apocalypse Build-A-Figure wave and the Cyclops from the Love Triangle set. And I think Wolverine and Cable look okay right here, but, you know, stylistically they clash a little too much. And Cyclops, you know, once again, he's still kind of the same height as Cable, which doesn't work in any case in my opinion. And then now here we have him next to both Hasbro Marvel Legends Cable figures. And I think these guys are like the perfect size in a 6-inch collection. And I really wish that this Mezco Cable was at least as big as one of these two. Next up, we have him alongside the Marvel Legends Warpath and Marvel Legends Shatterstar. And now here he is alongside the Marvel Legends Bucky Cap and Marvel Legends Pizza Spider-Man. And then last but not least, just to show him off with a couple of random figures, here he is with the Lightning Collection Lord Draken and the Hasbro Black Series Boba Fett. And as far as the articulation goes, I feel like this is another area where this figure is going to get a lot of complaints because Cable's definitely restricted and has some limitations, but I personally think that Mezco did a really good job of incorporating articulation into this design. This design doesn't necessarily lend itself to like a superposable action figure, but I think Mezco did a really good job of squeezing as much as they could into this figure as far as the articulation goes. And but you know, there's limitations, and but for me, most of them are forgivable because a lot of the sacrifices sacrifices they made in the articulation, you know, serve a different purpose, and I'm completely happy with that. But let's go ahead and get into it. So first off, for the head, we get some side to side. It is on a little ball joint, and then we get some tilt, which is nice. And let's see if he could look up. Can't really look up. He can only look up to about right there. Could look down to right there. The neck doesn't have any movement because that's where like all the electronics are for the chest light up feature and the neck light up, I mean the head light up feature. So that all has to be one piece, and there's no movement there. So it is what it is. But the head does get some side to side and some tilt, which allows you to get some pretty expressive poses out of it. And then for the torso, as I mentioned before, this armored piece right here is a bottom section covering the abs, and then up here covering his upper chest. Let's move this gun just so we could get the most we can out of it. But so for the torso, he pretty much could only go forward to about right there because the two armor pieces kind of clash with each other. So he only goes forward to about right there. He can go back a pretty decent amount, so that's pretty good. And then he gets some side to side. There we go. Gets a little side to side. And to be honest with you, any movement in the torso I'm happy with, because I honestly thought we weren't going to get any type of torso movement. I thought all the movement might have had to come from the waist or something, but we do get a little bit of torso movement. So, you know, that's cool. I'm pretty happy with that. And then you have that waist in there, which, you know, doesn't really do much for you because there's all kinds of pouches and armor and stuff like that. But, you know, for me, as long as you could get his torso moving a little bit, I'm pretty happy with it, because you know, that's important when you're trying to pose a figure. You don't want him just to be standing straight up. And especially with the neck being set up the way that it is, I think this little bit of movement in the torso is pretty important. So I'm glad they were able to get that in there, at least for a little bit. And then for the arms, we have ball jointed shoulders, but they are hindered by these shoulder pads. So they could pretty much only go up to about right there. They could come back to about right there. And then I feel like if you bring these shoulder pads a little bit out, like they're on a little peg, you could get a little bit more movement. But then, you know, it kind of breaks it up and doesn't look that good. Then his arms could come out to the side. Then we have the upper bicep swivel, double jointed elbows. He has a swivel at the forearm, swivel at the wrist, and a hinge at the wrist. He actually has a little ball joint in there, so you could get movement like all the way around. Good stuff. For the legs, they could come out to the side to about right there. They could come forward to right there. Bring them back a pretty nice amount. Then he has the upper thigh swivel, double jointed knee, lower leg swivel. And let's see what we have going on with the foot here. His feet are kind of crazy, but we got a little bit of rocking action. Can't really go forward too much. Looks like it's a little ball joint in there. It's hard to tell. But you also get a little bit of swivel. But they move around a little bit, so he's definitely able to stand up without any problems, you know. So good stuff there. But yeah, like I said, it's pretty limited, but for the most part, I think it works perfectly fine for a character like Cable with a design like this. Okay guys, so overall, even though I know this figure isn't perfect, I absolutely love this thing. I think that Mezco did an incredible job with it, mostly with the sculpt. The sculpt is just so beautiful, so detailed. There's all kinds of little things throughout the figure that you discover as you're looking at it, and that is awesome. That's always fun. I love the accessories that he comes with, multiple hands, the handgun, the knives, and then the big huge guns. The big huge guns are really cool. They definitely scream Cable. I just wish he was able to hold on to them with two hands, but it's not a huge deal that he can't, because he is able to hold on to each one of the guns with one hand. So that's dope. That works out. I do wish that he came with a Baby Hope accessory. I think that would have been incredible, because this armor and this suit that he's wearing kind of makes it feel like it's Cable in survivor mode. So I think it would have been really dope if it had a Baby Hope accessory. And as far as the articulation goes, I know that people are going to complain, but to be honest with you, I really don't feel like there's good reason to complain, because I mean, it's pretty much what you would expect out of a figure like this that's designed like this with the armor and all that good stuff going on. You're not going to get that much articulation, and that's just the way it is. So, you know, they went with this design and they put as much articulation as they could into there, and I'm perfectly happy with it. But I definitely predict that people will complain about that. The one definitive flaw I think this figure does have is that he's too small. I do wish he was a little bit bigger, a little bit more massive, especially in comparison to the other Mezco X-Men figures. He should tower over those guys, and he doesn't. So that's a little unfortunate, but I'm not really going to let that, you know, hinder my enjoyment of this figure, because overall the positives outweigh the negatives by a lot. So this figure is just incredible, and I'm extremely happy with it. And man, Mezco is just killing it. And to be honest with you, I think this is one of the best figures that Mezco put out this year. They did such a good job with it. And yeah, man, they had a great year in 2019. And speaking of the end of the year stuff, I do plan on doing a Mezco top 10 of 2019. Hopefully I'll get that done in a couple of days. I really wish that Magneto would have hit before the end of the year, because I guarantee he'd be in that list, because that figure looks badass. But yeah, as far as Cable goes, I'm extremely happy with it, and I think they did a good job with it. I can't wait until the PX version comes out, because that one looks a little bit more comic book accurate, especially for like a late 90s version of Cable. But anyways, I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to support the channel, please be sure to use the Amazon links in the description below, or you could hit up my Big Cartel store and buy an Odious head sculpt. This is the new one, sculpted by Shin Rito on Instagram from Sculptimo Designs and painted by me. So these are available now. Go check that out. And this is my little custom Odious figure that I put together. I do plan on making a video to show off what I did here, because I'm really happy with this. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope all of you guys have a really nice holiday season. Thank you so much. Peace.